I didn't get to know Kelly enough when she came to the University of Michigan from UNC, the University of North Carolina, in 2018. But her reputation extends beyond the university. So Kelly, I've heard a lot of good things about you with my ongoing network at the University of Michigan, and some of the reports and other things that come out of your office. You've advanced the practice of technology commercialization and licensing, and the work that the university does to provide innovation and creativity to the world, really, because the University of Michigan is, at least in the United States, the largest public research university, and that probably extends beyond the borders of the US. So without further ado, I'm going to let you take it away, Kelly, and thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. It's really exciting to be able to, share some of our learnings from University of Michigan to, policymakers and practitioners and influencers around the country. So thank you and around the globe. So thank you, Larry, for this invitation. And it was really great also to hear Jeff Finkel's presentation, because I will be talking a bit about the IEDC in this presentation. So it's great that we were adjacent in the agenda. So as Larry was describing the University of Michigan, I'm just going to jump right in. And I think we're all here on this at this conference because we believe in the power of innovation and research as a source for societal good, economic growth, economic prosperity. And, my experience is in the US supporting university technology commercialization, which is an important part of what's really been called our miracle machine in terms of creating economic prosperity and opportunity in the US. And a big piece of our success, a really important underpinning for why this has been working, is a 40-year-old piece of bipartisan legislation called the Bayh-Dole Act. At its core, what the Bayh-Dole Act achieved was to tell US universities that we could own the results of all the innovations created on our campus, even when they used federal taxpayer funding for their generation. This allowed us the opportunity to create the profession of technology transfer and to create the infrastructure and the incentive to move these innovations out into the world in ways that maximize positive societal benefit. It's been attributed, as this slide says, with perhaps more than any other policy measure in helping to reverse America's precipitous slide into industrial irrelevance. And thanks in large part to federal funding of research universities around the country, we have a really wonderful network of innovation that's occurring in every state of our union. But for reasons of geography, history, and network effects, venture capital tends to be clustered in just 3 states in the US, with California, Massachusetts, and New York accounting for about 75% of all the venture capital dollars invested in the US. And around these hubs of venture capital investment has really grown very vibrant entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystems. And these are some of the most active entrepreneurial ecosystems that the world really has ever seen. But we have innovation in every state and around every great research university. So I think the challenge for all of us is to understand, what can we do to improve the innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems in our region? And I think there's ways we can do it. And I'm sure there's ways we can do it. We just have to be a little bit more thoughtful and purposeful in the programming that we put in place to help make up for the fact that our faculty aren't as likely to bump into a VC in a coffee shop as they would be if they were located at a university in Silicon Valley, for instance. So the University of Michigan is located in this part in the yellow circle. It's often said our state looks like a mitten. We're in the Great Lakes region. And because of our location, because of the attributes of our university, We think that the models that we generate at the University of Michigan can be applied in states around the country and also around the world. We've been really successful and have a long track record of successful technology commercialization. As Larry mentioned, I'm approaching 3 years at the University of Michigan, and our history in this aspect was one of the reasons I was excited to move to U of M. Some of our products are household names, like Flu Mist or bladeless LASIK. Others are exciting surgical innovations that have the potential to transform the way that we treat cancer, for instance, such as histotripsy. Many of us interact with the U of M technology every day when we use our smartphones, as all high OLED display technologies have a piece of Michigan IP underpinning them. And so, as Larry was mentioning, we're the nation's largest public research university. We have a diversity of research excellence, strengths in medicine and engineering, also in natural sciences, public health, the environment. We have a strong business and law school. And we think this interplay of our geography, the excellence of research, and the diversity of that research makes us an ideal platform for innovating, to try and test and experiment with new programs in technology commercialization to see if they work. And we think if they work in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they can be applied around the world. And one way that this is captured is in the mission statement for our office. And it's actually a statement of inspiration, where we say that we are inspired to redefine how world-class university research can fuel a region and solve the world's greatest challenges. And Larry, you were kind of nodding to that duality of purpose in the intro. We are a global university. Our innovations have the opportunity for impact around the world. At the same time, we're a public university in a state that's often called a flyover state or a part of the Rust Belt. I think we're part of the Brain Belt, and I think we've got great opportunities to demonstrate to areas around the country how you go about leveraging your great assets in your strong research universities. For us, we really focus in 3 areas, and I wanted to talk about some programs that underpin these areas that we've put in place at the University of Michigan, and they fall into 3 categories. And I like to say that, you know, for an innovation ecosystem to be successful, you need 3 key ingredients: innovation, talent, and capital. And we'll first talk a little bit about our programs that we have in place to support innovation. And no matter how wonderful the university is, no matter how brilliant and driven the faculty are, there is always a gap between where a university research discovery is when the research grant is over and where it needs to be in order to be commercialized. For us, commercialization typically takes 2 paths. One is by licensing to an existing company, and we do a lot of that working with existing corporate partners and licensing IP to them so that they can immediately begin converting it into products. Another aspect is through supporting the launch of new startup companies, and we'll talk a bit about both. But regardless of the path the technology is going to take, we first have to come up with a way to address this gap between where the research discovery is when a tech transfer office gets involved and where it needs to be in order for it to be of interest to a company or an entrepreneur to build a startup company around. And we're incredibly fortunate in Michigan to have a wonderful program that's actually statewide. Our MTRAC program is available to provide translational funding for university technologies that have significant commercial potential. These awards typically range between $50,000 all the way up to $250,000, depending on the area, and they can be used for prototyping, translational studies. What we're really focused on are those key experiments, those killer experiments that we know can take the technology through a value inflection point and make it more interesting for a company or for an entrepreneur. It's really, you could consider them de-risking funds. We're helping to take some of the risk out of the technologies so that they'll be more attractive to industry. And the really wonderful thing about the MTRAC program is the fact that it is a statewide hub. At the University of Michigan, we play to our strengths, and we host 2 of these hubs, one in life sciences and one in advanced transportation. And importantly, they are open to researchers from any university around our state. And likewise, our colleagues at Michigan State University, the flagship land-grant university, which means that they have a lot of expertise around ag biotech and agricultural technologies, they host the Ag Bio Innovation Hub. So I know at U of M, when I get a faculty member that has a great ag biotech technology, we can augment our network by sending them to collaborate with our colleagues at Michigan State through their Ag Bio Innovation Hub. And all of this, the statewide network effect, is made possible because of our collaboration with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which is the state of Michigan's economic development arm. And I think that this connectivity between the universities around our state in this manner to support de-risking of university technologies is fairly unique. And I think that Jeff must agree with me on this, because in 2019, his organization, the International Economic Development Council, recognized the MEDC program, the MTRAC program, as a gold award recipient for partnerships with educational institutions. So I would really encourage people to consider benchmarking this program. I really think it's phenomenal, and it definitely contributes to our success, both at U of M and for in general around our state. The second piece I want to talk about is talent. And the University of Michigan, we're an incredible research university, just an absolute juggernaut of innovation in a mid-sized college town of around 130,000 people. And so for us, we have to be very thoughtful and purposeful with our talent strategy. And the really core underpinning of this is our mentor in residence program. So we have positions for between 10 and 13 mentors in residence. They're typically spending about 25 to 50% of their time with the tech transfer office, managing a portfolio of projects that may one day become startup companies. So they get involved very early at the stage where we have a graduate student, a faculty member, and a great idea to help mentor that project and help take it on the path towards commercialization, whether it's formation of a new startup company or whether licensing to an existing company is the best outcome. We've been able to attract an incredible pool of talent to this team. The individuals shown here have raised over $200 million of venture capital as entrepreneurs. They've directly overseen $700 million in liquidity events. And they're active investors. They've managed over $150 million in assets. And importantly, they're bringing not only their expertise, but they're also bringing their network connections to support our startups. So this is an important talent attraction program for us. It's also a talent building program. And on occasion, we're also able to attract boomerang talent, individuals who perhaps have roots in Michigan, have had successful careers in other areas of the country or the world, and are interested in moving back home. This provides a great landing space for them to connect with the innovation ecosystem around the region and to get to support some really cool technologies at the same time. On occasion, one of the mentors in residence might find a really great startup opportunity. When that happens, they end up leaving the program. And we may lose the mentor in residence, but we gain an entrepreneur. So we also celebrate that outcome. And again, this is a collaboration with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and it's actually also part of a statewide hub called the Tech Transfer Talent Network. Shown here, we have our mentors in residence mapped with their technical expertise, and you can see that it's really critical, especially for a university like Michigan with the diversity of our research, to be able to have this diversity of entrepreneurial talent and expertise. So we're able to provide our mentor in residence support to universities around the state. Many of them also host their own mentors in residence through this program. And so we're able to share expertise and resources. And if someone at Wayne State needs to tap into digital health expertise, we know we can connect them directly with Dave Grigorka on our team in a really seamless fashion and provide that great support. So again, another great example of a strong network effect. And again, another recognition from the International Economic Development Council that we're on the right track with this year, the T3N program being awarded the Silver Award for partnerships with educational institutions. So I love this ecosystem approach to building talent and building innovation networks. And I'm always just really honored to be a part of it. And it's part of what makes being at U of M so exciting and such a great place to be. The final piece I want to talk about is capital. And I showed the slide early on that showed that venture capital is clustered in 3 states. What that feels like on the ground is we watch our startups as it takes them longer to raise that first round of financing. We know that in the Great Lakes region, on average, it's taking our startups about 2 years longer to raise their first $500K of funding. This is that critical seed funding that they need to be able to begin to grow and scale their business. The time spent fundraising unsuccessfully is time they're not spent growing and building the business, and it's time that they're losing the competitive advantage that they have from our technology. And so while I'd love to turn all of the red to green, I know we also have to be focused in how we allocate our resources. So for us, our hypothesis is we're going to build on this great infrastructure. We have these wonderful MTRAC programs. We have this world-class mentor in residence infrastructure. And so we're focused on building a bolt-on program called the Accelerate Blue Fund, where we're taking this great infrastructure that we have and we're adding capital to it, risk-tolerant patient capital. And we're actually raising it through philanthropy. One of the great benefits of being at U of M is we have a strong alumni network. And so we're actually working with our alums around the country to help raise this fund with a $20 million target. And our hope is, and our thesis is, by providing early stage patient capital, we can prepare our startups to be more competitive for their first Series A financing and to attract capital both from within Michigan and out of state capital as well. And so in closing, the reason we do this and the reason we build these programs, it's all about impact. And while I'm proud of the culture we have at U of M that's supportive of entrepreneurship and startup companies, and the 31 startups we launched last year, the success they're having in raising financing, the reason we have this infrastructure is to help society. And in early March, we had about 0 COVID-19 projects on our campus. And it's just been amazing to watch our researchers go after this fundamental existential problem. We now have over 240 active COVID research projects. Those have translated to 40 new COVID invention disclosures. And we're here and at the ready to take this infrastructure and support these inventors and researchers in their efforts to make sure that we can take these COVID-related innovations and help translate them into the marketplace so that they can be used to create those new therapeutics, create the new diagnostics that we need to help combat this problem. So with that, I think I'm at time, and I'll say thank you for your attention, and I'm open to any questions if we have time for them. But if not, I'd just like to say again, thank you to Larry and the amazing conference organizers for putting this together.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly. That was a very comprehensive and enlightening description of all the things that are going on. Not only has a breadth and depth, but it's pretty agile too. And I think it shows that how institutions can come together to provide networks that are greater than the sum of its parts, I guess, if you would describe it that way, because different institutions have different strengths and different institutions have different subject matter experts and scientists and researchers. And the spirit of collaboration, I think, is more important than the spirit of competition. And you've described how well the University of Michigan has done it in partnership with the other state institutions. So I think it's a very good example of best practice. And speaking to a global audience here, I think it's a model that can be examined. And as we say in economic development, is it replicable and is it scalable? And I think that you've demonstrated that what's going on here meets both of those requirements if things are to progress beyond the boundaries of an institution or a